Welcome back to that Heartbreak Hogs podcast. How we doing today, Sid?
What's up? What's up?
Dude, after a 70-0 win, I'm feeling great. How about you, man? You feeling
Dude,
better?
all right, feeling better. Feeling better after my predictions, and we'll talk about it a little bit more. But honestly, a great game, and should be pretty happy about it if you're a Hawks fan.
Yeah, dude. No, I was pretty happy with it. We're going to go over some of the stats and our kind of key takeaways from it all. So I guess let's get into it here. So just like looking at this, um, one thing actually, before we get into the nitty gritty here, one thing that I mentioned last time that we talked was I wanted the offensive line to have a good game. And they had a great game. Now, I know it's UAPB, but I am so glad that we're not sitting here being like, hey, the offensive line looked like it was struggling. You know? That's what I'm glad that we're not doing here. It was like, like
For
last year
sure.
with that Western Carolina game, it was like, ooh, Rocket Sanders didn't get any big runs. But this year, Jaquindon, he got some big runs. Everything went great. Obviously, 10 straight, 10 straight touchdown drives. That's awesome. And our record was 6. So that's what's also pretty crazy is we beat our same record 4 times. So,
Yeah, definitely, dude. It's UAPB. I mean,
yeah.
so I'm still. You can't get your hopes too high up. I know. You just have to. You can't be drinking that Kool-Aid too much
Dude, I'm
after
drinking it, man.
UAPB. I know you
My
are. I know
my
you
10
are.
and 2 is looking great right now,
You're,
isn't it?
I'm sure it is to you. I think after that game, my 7 games is still holding,
Mhm.
and I'm more confident about those 7 games. Not That's not to say that it's because Arkansas played bad or anything. They played absolutely fantastic, but considering it to be UAPB and considering that game to almost be like smoke and mirrors,
Yeah.
um, it's easy to come out on top. But there's key takeaways that we'll discuss, and um, we it makes me feel happy about the Oklahoma State game coming up, and I think the smoke and mirrors will truly tell this Saturday if it truly was smoke and mirrors or if this
Yeah.
team is actually this good.
Yeah. No, I like here's the thing about that game is really the only way to really take anything away from it is if your team struggles because it's kind of a sign of things to come. Not always. Sometimes teams struggle in the first game just because they're like they want to hide their cards if they have a big game in week 2. Like I think that Michigan game, that might be a weird game where Michigan might not be as bad as we think. They may actually come out and punch Texas a little harder than a lot of people are expecting. So you just never know. Also, whenever we played Texas a couple years ago, that game that we played before, I think it was Rice that we played, and I think it was either we were up by 3 at half or it was like it was close at half, and we pulled away in the second half, and so people were panicking and they were like, "Yeah, Texas is going to come into Fayetteville and smoke them." So you
Right.
can't take too much away from the first game, whether you struggle or if you don't. Although if you do struggle, sometimes it can be a sign of things to come. But I mean, hell, we broke we broke a record, and that's the most points I've ever seen Arkansas score. I think
Yeah,
they
for
have
sure.
scored 70 before, but it was like in the early 1900s. So, hey man, I'm happy with it. I've never seen that happen, and I've seen some decent Arkansas teams. I mean, we were alive when Bobby was there, and so we saw some 10-win seasons, and they never did that. So, hey, maybe we're on a different track now.
Yeah, you exactly. I mean, just to walk away with it, with being like that high scoring game, and as a Razorback fan, I mean, if you are pessimistic about that game, and like it's hard to be, right? Like even if you're a
Yeah,
pessimistic Razorback fan, like you can't take away from that game
Easy
No
now,
one can take
pessimistic
away from
Razorback
it.
fans.
Exactly right. No, our hearts were not broken
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
for that
exactly.
game. Not
Now
yet. So
UAPB, I'm not so sure. I don't know how,
exactly.
I don't know how they're doing right now, but
I mean, our hearts are not broken yet, and we got an undefeated season so far. So,
right.
I mean, for now, shooting on a Thursday, hey, let's keep the season going. Let's keep this train going. I mean,
Yeah.
nothing else we can ask for.
Dude, I'm all here for it, bro. So let's get into some of these stats first. This video will be more about just a recap on UAPB, and then we'll have another video on just a prediction for Oklahoma State. But let's kind of look at this. Sid, I know it's kind of hard for you to see that on your end, so if you're able to pull
Yeah,
that
I'll be looking
up.
at my phone to just to recap some of those stats and just to look at it on there. So if I'm looking
Okay.
down, it's at my phone.
All right, sounds good. So, as we said earlier, 7-0. That was another thing here is the 0 part, and there's two interesting things that came out to me. One, we shut them out, which was awesome. I rarely see shutouts from Arkansas, especially. And the other thing was we didn't force any turnovers. That was very odd to me. We didn't get a pick. We didn't force a fumble. And this is something I'm not hearing a lot of people talk about. It's not that the defense played bad. Now, they did have one bad play, and I know you counted that as a touchdown. So technically, you're over here at 70-6 or 70-7.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm not going to say, oh, our defense is trash or anything like that. No. But it's one of those things that it's like, why didn't we get a pick? Why didn't we force a fumble? But I'm not going to, harp too much on it. We'll see what ends up happening in the end. But it is something that it was kind of like, we didn't force any turnovers. What do you think about that? Was that something that caught your attention or?
Yeah, I mean, so it's easy to play the what if game, right? Like,
Right.
what if what if Taylor Green overthrew it and they got it intercepted? What if that was a pick six? What would we be talking about then? Would it be a different scenario? Yes, of course it would, but that didn't happen. So I'm just saying it's easy to talk about the what if game, but if it didn't happen, I know I sent you that text in the moment. I was like, that's definitely something I'm counting. And
Right.
to be fair, it was true. I mean, I talked about it and I told you about it. Early in the game, I was more nervous because of Taylor Green's he seemed very nervous, right? He could not stay in the pocket, could not make the passes. He just couldn't do well early in the game, and it was whether it was overthrows or whether it was just incorrect decisions that he was making, tossing it in triple coverage. It's just something that got me very nervous, and I was like, this is exactly
I think a lot of
like
people
looking
noticed
like
that too.
the old Hogs, right? But then as soon as he started getting momentum, started getting
Settled
confidence,
down a little bit.
settled down, and I think you could tell he was in his bag once he kind of owned the moment. And so I hope against once we get to these Oklahoma State or these SEC games even, he is able to keep that poise and understand how to stay in the moment, how to be a competitor in that environment where you might not get as much time as he did. He definitely won't get as much time as he did with the UAPB. With these other teams, but it's how you react in those moments. Whether you're going to make incorrect decisions, but we need to go. I guess at the end of the day, as long as things keep going our way, we'll be happy with it. But I think that's going to be key in seeing what happens with Oklahoma State as he gets less time, as he has to make those decisions a lot quicker. If he is tossing it into that triple coverage, if it gets picked or not.
What did you think of the backup QBs? Do you think there's any competition there for Talon?
Oh, for
I know
sure.
that there's definitely been some people hyping up Singleton.
Yeah,
Jackson, not quite yet, but Singleton for sure has been getting a lot of hype from a
right.
lot of fans.
I mean,
To
he
me
definitely had more.
personally,
He had more options, right? Singleton, he had, I think, 10 passes or whatever. He had looks, and he did pretty good. And I think that's what got the Hogs fans' hopes up, which is great for a backup quarterback to be able to come in, and even our backup's backup to be able to come in and get some passes in game. That doesn't happen very often, especially for us. So just
yeah,
seeing that, I think it's great. And always, I mean, having a competitive environment in our locker room
yeah,
is always a great thing. Like, he shouldn't be comfortable. It's just like he shouldn't be comfortable in the pocket. He shouldn't be comfortable in the locker room in terms
it's a
of
good point.
his job's always on the line, and I think that's going to push him to be even better.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. To me, Singleton, he looks good, but he doesn't look ready. Um, I don't know. There's just something about him. There's a certain vibe that Talon Green gives that I see that just speaks leader to me of like, I've got this. I'm in control here. Where Singleton still looks a little raw. And that's kind of what I got. Although, maybe that changes once you start him a couple games, then all of a sudden his energy is going to change. So there is that too. So I think that there's definitely good hands behind Green. I think it would probably be best if Green only stays 1 year because I think Singleton will be ready for sure next year. And I don't know if we can keep him if, if Green comes back. So, because it does kind of remind me a little bit of that Ryan Mallett, Tyler Wilson style where Ryan Mallett was a stud, obviously, and then Tyler Wilson comes in, and then you're like, oh, we're good next year. We're good. We've got a guy that can, take the helm next year. So,
I mean, exactly right. We've got two guys in different positions right now. It's Talon Green's job to lose, and it's Singleton's job to gain. So as many opportunities he gets, he's gonna try to make the most of it. Singleton is, and with those opportunities, it'll be interesting to see how he does throughout the season. I think he'll get more and more opportunities, but again, Talon Green, he's gonna have to watch his back, and he's gonna have to be on his toes, and he's gonna have to be a competitor, be enjoy, like taking that moment and
yeah.
and understand that he is the leader right now and he is the starter. So see what he does with it, and if he is capable of it, absolutely great. Like, I think no Hog fans is rooting against him,
Right.
and either of them, honestly. And so I think after the first game, it's just a matter of who's going to be able to keep poise in those situations.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's kind of look at some of these stats here. Looks like the Hogs had 408 yards passing, 290 or 279 rushing, a total of 687 yards of offense. And so it looks like that it was a really good day of passing, but also a solid day of running. So it was fairly balanced. And that's the thing is some people don't realize that Petrino's offenses, he does run the football. And it's nice to see that, hey, we're not only going to, pass the ball, we're going to run it too. And Jaquindon, he's a stud. Like, that guy's a beast. One of these days, like, he's going to have some breakouts against some SEC competition. I'm telling you, if he can stay healthy. And, that's just kind of the name of the game. Can you stay healthy? So if all these boys can stay healthy, I think that they can do some damage. That offense it's got some venom.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely was into behind Jaquindon going into that when we talked about it before UAPB's game, and this definitely like helped me pushed me get my hopes up even more about him, and thinking he can be really good this season and be our back, which is what we will need, and which is what more than anything is being able to push that line and keep moving the ball down the field, keep moving the ball inch by inch, and
Right.
and as long as he's our back, and he's confident in his runs, he's making smart decisions, and he's pushing that ball like a man.
Yeah.
He's gonna
Oh, he'll be pushing.
be just all right, right?
Yeah. No, I think he'll be more than all right, man. I'm stoked. Just something also to highlight here about the stats from last game. And I know this is UAPB, but we can kind of look for some things that maybe will tell us a little bit more about the upcoming game. So I'm looking here and it says rushing yards 7. So this is including, tackles for losses and things. So, but still, that's awesome. That is great to see, especially whenever Ollie Gordon is the running back for Oklahoma State. So that's good that our defense looks like they're practicing for that run game, and it looks like that they can do a pretty good job. So I know the UAPB, but that's still good to see. That's good to see that they weren't rushing all over the place, because if that was like 200 yards of rushing or something like that, that'd be a little concerning. It's like UAPB getting that much, or even 100 is still like, I don't know about that run defense. We might get ran all over. This kind of tells you, hey, that run defense may be a little underrated, and they might be ready for Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, 7 yards is insane.
Yeah.
I mean, is UAPB the worst team in college football? Maybe, maybe not. But just to have a 7 yards against any
They probably are.
exactly right. But
They probably are.
yeah, and I don't know if Ollie Gordon was on the UAP team, it might have been a little bit different. But
It would have been different.
exactly right. So I don't know. I mean, at on one hand, yes, that's fantastic. 7 yards from a college team that we're facing, and our defense definitely showed that they can hold that line and push them back and not let them through.
Yeah.
This is going to be the biggest upcoming match, though, with how much that guy Ollie Gordon is being talked about, with how much he's being discussed in his running, and that's going to be key in seeing, like, hey, even if we're able to like hold him,
Yeah.
it's going to be very important and very cool to watch.
Yeah. All right. Well, it sounds like we're starting to get into a little bit of Oklahoma State, so we'll kind of stop here with this recap of last week's game. Big win. I know it's UAPB. Don't get too stuck on that. Enjoys the 70-0. None of us have seen that in our lifetime. Let's be excited and happy that happened, because, man, like I said, it's only happened once in our lifetime. And that goes for the old folks, too, watching this. So be happy that we saw something for the first time, the only time, as Razorback fans. And let's go to Stillwater prepared.
Yes, sir.
All right. That Heartbreak Hogs podcast out.